it's something that can, you know, at best can even shake the world of adventure touring quite a bit. It's the sort of Bruce Lee effect, as I call it, right? Because till Bruce Lee came around, from a fighter's perspective, a bigger chap with more muscles was always going to win, right? And was always stronger, right? But then Bruce Lee came along and changed the paradigm entirely. He was like, dude, you got to be obviously got to be strong, but not overly built. You can, but you got to be agile. You got to be quick. You got to be smart, and that's what's going to win. It's not just brute force, right? And that is the Himalayan.
We have a very special guest today, uh, Siddharth Lal, MD of Royal Enfield. Welcome to the show, Siddharth.
Thanks, Adarsh.
Siddharth, starting off, how does it feel? Last few days, you've been riding around in the Himalayas on the all-new Himalayan. Tell us a little bit about what the feelings are like.
Well, a lot of feelings. Let me tell you that because it's uh, for us at Royal Enfield, we don't do too many things. We take our time in doing things, and we've it's been the new Himalayan has been 6 years in the making. Of course, a little bit of delay because of COVID and other such things and chip issues a couple of years ago. But that's we really put in so much time, effort, energy, investment, blood, sweat, tears into the Himalayan that the last few days we've had for the first time outside people and the international, the global, the Indian media riding our motorcycles, and it's a lot of emotion really because after all these years, and these guys are all specialists, right? They're all very good at riding, so it's to expose all of this, the new motorcycle of them is big, and even more is the reaction we got from all of them, right? I mean, we knew the bike was amazing. We always knew that, and but I think it's gone over and above that. The reactions we've gotten are absolutely sensational, and therefore, yeah, the extra emotions.
And you've been putting a fair bit of saddle time as well. Last few days, you've gone out a few times and ridden here. You're not new to this place. You've ridden here a fair bit. What was it like to again come back from last year when we rode the ED2 level bikes to now production bikes?
Yeah, this is a second home for me really here in Manali, where we're sitting today. Is my mum's new uh, hotel, resort, whatever it is, and just down below, 50 meters below, is our family home that we've had for 30 years. So yeah, this whole area is very much familiar to me, and it was lovely to ride around in our own roads, as it were. In above Manali, we're near Mandi, and then not very far from Rohtang. Um, yeah, it's I've since day one when we conceptualized the new Himalayan and the new engine, the first water cooled for Royal Enfield, and it's we've been riding. I've been riding mule bikes, and Frankenstein bikes. I don't know what all they call them because we put parts from other bikes, put chassis, put all sorts of other things together, and keep testing, trying, to see what works really, and the most micro changes in geometry make a huge difference, and then there are lots of decisions which we made many years ago, and those take time to mature, right? Because once you make a certain decision on architecture, then it evolves into all the other decisions are behind that decision. So I've been enjoying the ride, as it were, on the design part, on riding the mules, and then last year on actually riding our ED2 test bikes, which were properly a lot of tooled up parts, which is what we like to do in our testing, and with our entire senior management team and other people and other test riders, it was fantastic last year. I mean, actually, to be honest, my socks were blown off last year itself, and I couldn't wait for us to actually launch the Himalayan. But as we do, we want things to really, really mature before we bring it out to the public. And I think that's one thing that we've learned over time. We've learned the hard way, but it's borne us so well. It doesn't matter. I mean, to bring a bike out 6 months earlier, 1 year earlier, it's not going to change the world for us. But to have a bike that's not absolutely perfect at launch, that's going to change the world for us. So we've let it mature, and
Hmm.
that's what I saw in the last few days. Riding the new Himalayan, that it's superbly matured. My God, I mean, I'm so excited with how it's behaving. It's in every form and aspect, in the throttle response, in the suspension dynamics, in how you expect it to feel when you do certain things, like when you press the brake. It's very natural, very responsive. um, I mean, so much so that I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but you nearly forget the bike at points, right? I think it's a good thing, because that's what you want. You want to forget about the bike and enjoy everything else around you and be natural. And I think this motorcycle this time allowed me to be extremely natural. I wasn't thinking about the motorcycle most of the time. It just, did what it's supposed to do, and yeah, that was perfect.
Excellent. I want to go back a little. For me, growing up as a kid, and I saw this picture of Royal Enfields in the Himalayas and everything, and I was like, but one day I've got to take an Enfield and ride in the mountains. And I've heard you say that as well, that we wanted to kind of do something that was, that paid homage to the relationship that we have with the mountains. Can you take us back to how it all started for us? I know people were taking our bikes, our bullets, our classics,
Yeah.
our Thunderbirds, modifying them and bringing them up to the mountains. How and when did we think about coming up with something that was purpose built to ride in the mountains?
I have to confess, the idea actually came even before everyone else knows about. It was more like, I don't know, 2008, 9. I used to be, working with different people and ideas. And for me, what's very clear, most ideas like this don't happen on one day. Let's make a Himalayan. It just, you know, the seed of something of an idea comes, and then it just builds, and layers form, and then some parts get removed and other parts get
Mm,
layered on. So it was really like that. This was a seed of an idea that came because, our motorcycles have been up in the Himalayas. Obviously, the Bullet first since
mm,
1955, and then other motorcycles for decades. And I was riding, the classic up here in the mountains. It seems quite interesting, but yeah, it does the job. I mean, it did the job. We never thought of anything else in those days. So that was what, 15 years ago or something. And um, but that idea kept percolating that we should do something more special, and it really honestly came from that we should
mm,
make a motorcycle that is purpose built for the Himalayan. I don't even know if I knew the term adventure tourer then.
mm.
It wasn't coming from, oh, these guys are making these bikes, let's get into that
Right.
segment. It wasn't a segment thing. It was, dude, what's going to be really good for the Himalayas? Let's
Mm,
make that, right? And in fact, I talked to some people, some designers in the old days, because we didn't have our own industrial design team, if you remember. We had, Mark Wells and Ian were helping us from the outside
that's right.
Zenofia, but we had other guys as well who were helping us in those days. And one of them I talked to, and we cooked up this thing. For the life of me, I've looked everywhere. I can't find the sketches. I wish I could. Um, Maybe I'll ask the gentleman when I see him, if I see him, is we called it the Himalayan Tourer,
Toro.
right?
Yes.
So that was the name that stuck, and that was the idea that stuck in my head. And I talked to others about it. And like I do, my management style in Royal Enfield, I sort of sometimes put an idea out there, and if it grows as an idea, great. And very often, I think 90%, they just get sidelined the ideas, which is fine, because I don't want to be pushing things people down people's road. The time will come, right? We weren't ready then. I mean, in 2008, 9, whatever,
Mm,
we were not ready to make this. We were just about, doing our existing, Bullets classics.
We
Okay,
just come
and
out with the classic.
we
And
just come out of the classic, and it was Royal Enfield hadn't even hit that big trajectory of growth, right? We were still struggling company with big dreams, but the reality was we were still struggling. We didn't know how to do a lot of things. Our manufacturing, our product development, a lot of them were weak, right? We weren't really strong in a lot of those things. So it was two steps too far to try and think of a Himalayan tourer, but it kept percolating. So when the time came, in fact, maybe I don't know if it's the right thing to say. It's the wrong, it's a reveal of some sorts, but really, um, when we came up with the platform, the engine for the Himalayan, the 411,
LS 410, yes.
LS 410, really honestly, I don't think everyone knows that, but it was actually intended to be scaled down to 350 as well for our all of our motorcycles to replace the UCE. But so that's why the configuration was that it was just a bit more than a 350, so that could be scaled down easily. That's why the dynamics, it was air cooled, two valve, medium
Kind of long
power,
stroke.
yeah, long stroke. Basically because of that, because we said we're going to actually use this for our to replace our UCE. Then as time went on, we got other ideas about that. So this project continued and became the Himalayan project, and the engine became that for the Himalayan and then for the Scram. But then parallelly, we started the J series, which we wanted a slightly clean sheet of paper, as it were. So initially there were one project, then they got split. So actually, the LS410 and the J series do carry some commonalities as well, which was because we designed the LS, and so yeah, it was. Um, so really, honestly, it was the LS410 was not 100% purpose built for the Himalayan. It was, of course, for the Himalayan, but also with the view that it must serve our core products in those days. So that was that. But then as we went along, the Himalayan, initially it was, path breaking in ways, but also I think it just shone a huge light on the company at the point, right? We had issues at the start, at the post launch of Himalayan, and it was very troubling. We had issues in the field, um, reliability, quality issues that we had not expected. And it was at that time that, the I would say Govind and I got together, and it's the strength of Govind, who's now the CEO, that, we said, guys, this is not about fixing the Himalayan. It's the future of the company, right? If we can't have a new product that doesn't, have problems in the market, Royal Enfield is dead. So that was our thinking. And then the first thing we did was to put all the rigor back into the product and development and testing and all of that. And very soon after, we had the BS4 version, which had a very large number of issues resolved.
Yeah. We came out with the sleet.
On the Himalayan and came out of the sleet. And that's when actually the Himalayan took off, because before that it was an interesting concept, but wasn't living up to its promise, as it were. But yeah, I think the original Himalayan also gave us a big wake up call as a company that, guys, we got to sort this out. And then we had, um, internally we had a very esteemed Japanese consultant called Fukuo-san, who'd come, um, who we knew for many years before that from our joint venture with Volvo. And he was part of UD Trucks and all of that. So he came, he supported us. And of course, our own team was amazing in learning Shoki Ryudo Kanri process, which is the end process in quality. And I don't think I'm going to get into it right now. It was absolutely life changing. I mean, it was 200% inspection of 1,000 different aspects of the motorcycle, of every single motorcycle that came out of our production, 200%. That means two different people went through a checklist of 1,000 items with taking hours on each and every motorcycle. This is not, you're not picking one motorcycle out of a batch. Every single motorcycle, we did that. And till we saw that, and this was not just static, it was static and dynamics. Till we saw that the um, the f- the issues were within a threshold that was acceptable, because there's always going to be something small, right? Maybe a tiny misalignment or something. Um, Only then we sell those motorcycles, and only after we complete thousands and thousands of these processes do we actually reduce it from, let's say, 200% inspection to 100% inspection, from 1,000 points to 500 points, or maybe no, I think the 1,000 point stays, but the inspection comes down to 100%, then it comes down to 50%, then it comes down to 10%, then it comes down to 5%, right? Something like that.
Mm.
So that means 5% of motorcycles made. So we did that. At the same time, 2015, we had, or maybe before that, we started our UK Tech Center with the idea that everything, our entire process of new product introduction, that means from concept stage to detail designs, to design stage, to detail design stage, to launch stage, to parts development, will be ground up new. Again, led by
Mm.
Govind and the team, the product development team. We had a separate program management team for the first time. Otherwise, our product development chaps used to do that. We had a full-fledged product strategy team to do all the the concept work, and quality teams, and dedicated supplier teams, and a full process, gate process, that was, absolutely, we were bound to, and we were sworn to. So yeah, that was all the changes that we made over time, and that resulted, I would say, in the first big move, big shift, big change for us, which was on the twins, the
Yeah.
Interceptor and Continental GT. When those launched, I was holding my breath. I'm like, dude, this better be all right. And Govind said, Sid, it's great. And it was. And that was the starting point of new Royal Enfield, as it were.
Yeah, I think thanks for kind of sharing the evolutionary journey we've been on. In the meanwhile, things have also kind of evolved. Our riders have evolved. I think every year, close to 1 million of them around the world are getting into motorcycling thanks to our bikes. Can you talk to us a little bit about the new Himalayan? We properly made an evolutionary leap. You think about it from the original Himalayan standpoint, but you also look at it from a standpoint of with everything that's out there. There are so many firsts. We've got the Sherpa 450, the
Mm.
first liquid cooled
Hmm.
engine from Royal Enfield. We've got ride by wire. We've got the Tripper Dash, full map navigation and the work. So we've really, really evolved.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit? Isn't this too much?
Not at all. It's not at all too much. I think there are a lot of firsts, but we're, like I said earlier, in 2008-10, we weren't ready to make an adventure tour. We were bloody ready. I mean, we were bloody 5 years ago when we really started working on the new Himalayan. I mean, we were so ready, right? So as a team, as an organization, as capability, and we're committed to this. That's, I think, the big thing about Royal Enfield is that we have that enormous commitment behind a project. We don't hedge our bets. We don't say, well, if it doesn't work, what do we do? We're like, no, dude, we're all in on this, right? And that was our belief in the new Himalayan. I mean, to be honest, we tasted something with the first Himalayan that was spectacular. Honestly, it wasn't meant for international markets. We
Mm.
said it's only for India. But then, literally, I remember the North America market, they twisted my arm saying, guys, we want this. So we sent them a couple of them after a lot of arm twisting, they twisting my arm. And, and we said, guys, take these, see if they work in your market. They showed it to a lot of people. They said yes. So we really understood what people wanted. And we started soon after the first Himalayan, we started working on this. And we knew that it was going to be evolutionary. We knew that there were some things that people absolutely loved about the, let's say the first Himalayan, and that
OG,
was, sorry,
the OG.
OG. Yeah, it was breakthrough in so many ways. It had, it was the first time that a lower mid-size 400 odd cc adventure tourer was a full-blooded adventure tourer,
Yeah,
because all the other manufacturers till then said, guys, our big bikes, they're full-blooded adventure tourers. Our small bikes, you know what, we're going to give you something that looks adventure, but it's actually a soft roader. It's
correct.
actually not a real adventure. We're not going to give the tires, the suspension, the handling, the ergonomics. It's basically a city bike dressed up to look like an adventure, right? So that's what those guys did. And we're like, no, this is a proper adventure bike. And people really appreciated that. They're like, dude, yeah, we can actually do things on this. So we had to keep those things for the new Himalayan because, but we listened to everybody. We listened to ourselves, to our customers, hundreds of thousands, 200,000 customers that we've had to date, to experts, to novices, to uh, globetrotters, to Dakar rally riders, to um, explorers, to everybody. We talk to everybody to understand what do you want more and what do you want different. And that's where, and all of these things that you talked about, we've got new this, new that. We are not a tech first company like that. We are a consumer first company. What do our consumers want? What what do they really appreciate in a motorcycle? What will they want 5, 10 years from now?
Hmm.
How do we assess that? And once we assess that, then we ask the tech guys, how can you do this? A lot of it is existing tech. A lot of it is tech we'll have to create. But the tech is not in isolation. It's coming from what we need in the motorcycle. And that's what defines the new Himalayan. It's really built around this idea that it's got to be the best, absolute best thing for the Himalayas, bar nothing. You know, even a motorcycle 3 times, 5 times as expensive or bigger or more capacity or more power, we said ours should be better at what the Himalayas throw at it. And that is what we set out to do and accomplish, right? And then we said, look, if it can do the Himalayas, it can do bloody anything, right? It can do anything. So so I think all the amazing features, I don't really care about. Those are all things that, are part of this, and we're delighted about them. We're so proud of what our team has done. I mean, the engine is just absolutely spectacular. But again, we're not chasing numbers. Of course, we could have got more and more power out of
Hmm.
a 450cc liquid cooled engine, right? But then we would have compromised on the torque curve, right?
Hmm.
And we're not after, and it's not just us. Actually, we've understood that our customers are also not after spec sheets, right?
That's right.
Even though the competition tries so hard to sell spec sheets, right? They build bikes for spec sheets.
Yeah.
But that's not us. We'll never fall into that trap. We'll always make sure that we build bikes for everyday use, for the purpose that they're intended for. That's what they should be amazing at, even if it means taking a bit of a haircut on your peak power number, but giving them amazing torque which they want at earlier stages. That's what we're about.
Excellent. Can you can you tell us a little bit about the kind of effort that went in, even from your end? You've been thinking about the new Himalayan for a while now, and riding different stages of the bike. And what are the expectations? What are we trying to kind of hope for, achieve here with the new Himalayan? What's the dream?
Well, the effort that went in is, of course, absolutely intense. And, we've spared nothing in developing the new Himalayan. We have more people, more capable people on projects than I would think any other manufacturer on such a project, right?
Mm.
And over a long period of time. And, we don't do too many things at Royal Enfield, but we want to focus on the few things that we do exceptionally well. And the Himalayan is that. It's our life. It's our, it's what we live for at our company. And we're going to, we've left no stone unturned. The amount of effort, energy, thought, work, design, redesign, development, breaking the bike, remaking the bike. It's been blood, sweat, tears, joy, happiness, everything in this last few years has gone in. Um, and things like the instrument. I mean, how much effort for 5 years we've been working on that instrument, right? It's in the end it's a small thing, it's 4.5 inches, but the amount of effort of understanding consumers, what they want, what type of information. Again, some of that's only going to come if all of us at Royal Enfield, myself, Govind, all of you guys, are deeply invested in motorcycling, right? And are motorcyclists who understand that, in an adventure bike, you got to stand up and ride quite a bit when you're on horrible roads. And at that view, you got to be able to see the instrument, and you got to be able to see a couple of important things. I want to see the gear change, sorry, the gear position. I want to see the, tachometer. I want to see a couple of things because I can't even hear the bike sometimes when it's so noisy, when there's so much rubble or whatever, stones that you're going over, and there's all these kind of things. So it's dedication. It's all
Mm.
about dedication, and we've our ambitions. I have to say, I mean, we're a long-term ambitious company. We don't think short-term, all of that much, but I have to confess to you that my ambitions for the Himalaya are absolutely immense. Um, I think it's something that can, you know, at best, can even shake the world of adventure touring quite a bit. It's the sort of Bruce Lee effect, as I call it, right? Because till Bruce Lee came around, um, from a fighter's perspective, a bigger chap with more muscles was always going to win, right? And was always stronger, right? But then Bruce Lee came along and changed the paradigm entirely. He was like, dude, you got to be, obviously, got to be strong, but not overly built. You can, but you got to be agile. You got to be quick. You got to be smart, and that's what's going to win. It's not just brute force, right? And that is the Himalayan. It's smarter, it's quicker, it's better, it's more agile, it's more thoughtful, it's more intuitive, it's less intimidating, and therefore better for tough conditions, right? For 95% of people. And that was our inspiration, that we should be thinking in that way. So it's a counterpoint to motorcycles that have become even bigger, even heavier, even more expensive. But it's the sort of, Bruce Lee counterpoint, as it were.
Yeah. And if you've got to have one bike in your garage, then probably the Himalayan's the bike to kind of have, right? Because it does everything, and more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is absolutely no question. I mean, I have to confess, I always sound biased because, uh, you know, my our latest bike is what I'm always most in love with. But I am confessing again that I think this one is for real. This love for the Himalayan this time is absolutely for real. That that it is, and it's been conceived that way, right? Most people don't have multiple bikes in the garage. They have one bike. They're obviously enthusiasts who have many, but 95% of our customers don't. And what's the one bike that can do the daily job really well and everything else in the world really well? It's the Himalayan, right? That's what we made it for. So we said, guys, it has to be the best of the Himalayas. Therefore, it's going to be, you've got bad roads in your suburb or in your city. It's going to chomp those up, right?
Yeah.
And it's honestly really, really, really solid at highway riding, right? So a lot of the journalists yesterday said, guys, we can't believe it's got a 21-inch front wheel because it doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's so comfortable, planted, easy to maneuver on the highway. But then the 21-inch wheel comes on its own off road, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So that was one objective, the best in the Himalayas by far. And the other working title thought that we always had was Globetrotter, right?
Hmm.
For the Himalayan. Because it's, a lot of us dream like that. And I also personally do, that one day I can, well, chuck it all up, maybe not, but at least, take enough time out to, um, to trot the globe, as it were, and to go around the world. And that's very much a part of what we're thinking about the Himalayan. You should be able to take this motorcycle, go everywhere in the world. I mean, and I really believe it's the best bike in the world for that. Perhaps the one thing on the margin it'll miss out on over the bigger bikes is that, if you're going in Germany in autobahns and you want to go at 180 kilometers an hour, sure, you may not be able to clip at that rate.
Mm.
But that's a 0.1% use case, right?
Yeah.
For the rest of this is better than those big bikes.
Yeah, and who wants to ride on the autobahn straight anyway?
Indeed, not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I wanted to also, get your point of view on the kind of culture we've been able to build at Royal Enfield. Um, right from you, you're the top man thinking about going around the world on our bikes. Govind rides a fair bit, and all the CXO gang, they all ride. All of us ride. Uh, that was one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and the second thing was about focus. I think you touched upon
Yeah.
the focus bit. So culture and focus, and because I think that gives um, even the riders an insight into how we think about our bikes and how passionate we are. We love making bikes, but we also kind of love riding them.
Yeah, the culture in Royal Enfield is very respectful, very casual. In the old days, people would say, "Bhai, suit pehno," where's I'm like, dude, I'll go to my dealer and my customer, and they'll think I'm an ass, to be honest, if I'm wearing a suit and coming up to them, right? Because I don't like to dress like that either, but why pretend, right?
Yeah.
And we are what we are. We're going to do things well. We're a very professional outfit, but wearing a suit doesn't make you more professional, right?
Yeah.
It's here. It's this what makes you more professional. And um, so the culture was always about motorcycling and about, um, but it again, but we're also inclusive. We're also about different ideas, right?
Yeah.
So how do we, look at this cultural aspect? So we said we want everyone to be sensitive and thoughtful, and I mean, we would love everyone in our company to ride bikes, but maybe the best person for us in a particular situation doesn't ride a bike, right? So
Mm.
it so happens that a lot of us ride bikes, but for example, the ones who don't are also so passionate about riding, they'll come pillion, right?
Yeah.
So they'll ride a bike, they'll come pillion with us. Mm, they learn how to ride a bike, and honestly, even if they don't, we're not, you know, that's not the issue, but it's something that we want for most people to have in this company is that, you know, luckily we're in a product range. I mean, if you were making, I don't know, like pieces of rock or whatever, I don't know, something else, it's difficult to be a customer, right? But in
Yeah.
this case, it's a consumer product. It's something that invokes a lot of passion, and it's really important that the company executives, people appreciate and ride our products. I mean, it's as simple as that. But it's well beyond that. I think the other thing culturally at Royal Enfield is that very, very different from other hardcore automotive motorcycling companies is that I believe we have an amazing balance of engineering, which is obviously at the core,
Mhm.
um, and of creativity and of brand and commercial and design. Um, we're not like a lot of other companies, we're not ruled and run by engineers. I'm a bit of both. I'm a half engineer, half, I don't know, commercial chap or brand chap or whatever it is. But I think so is the rest of the company. And what we encourage is a creative tension in the company, right?
Mhm.
It's got to be a creative tension. It can't be everyone looks one way and that's it. I think the open culture that we have allows all of us, anyone from down the line, to say, guys, I'm not in on this. And what we do more and more and more of is give authority to people who are actually doing the damn job, right?
Mhm.
Rather than some senior exec sitting with their tie. Not that we have tie guys, but some senior exec sitting there making decisions, but they're on the ground doing the job, so they don't actually know what's going on. So, um, and honestly, one of my greatest feelings is to be proven right by someone else in the organization that we've chosen this direction which said you didn't want to go on, and that's the right direction. That's when I say, okay, I don't we've got better people. So if I'm the specialist at any subject in Royal Enfield anymore, then we're in trouble, right?
Hmm.
So I used to be the specialist in a few areas, but now luckily we have better people taking over that. So of course, there are a few things I still try and hold on to, but yeah, generally not.
Excellent. Now that we're so close to putting the new Himalayan out in the market, in the wild, what are your personal plans?
Yeah, lot of personal plans. To be honest, I've actually taken some time recently to reevaluate my life. I get bored easily. I think I have a little creative bent, which means we do get bored a bit. Um, and what it means is I need to keep reinventing myself. So it's not anything new. I've gotten bored my entire career once in a while, and then I reinvent myself. Okay, I say, let me do something different. Let me do something different. Because I know I'm going to do this job. I've been doing it for 25 years now,
Hmm.
and I turned 50 last week. So today is my 25th anniversary at Royal Enfield, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And November 1st to 1998 is when I joined. And um, so yeah, I've taken the time to rethink, to reevaluate what I'm going to do. And I've said, look, I have a lot of responsibilities in Aisha and Royal Enfield, all of that. So I'm going to mark those down on a calendar. Then I've got, like board meetings, product launches, quarterly reviews, etc., etc. So there's some things. But then I've got gaps in the middle. So I said, okay, I'm going to mark them out now so that the calendar doesn't get filled up. So I've marked out a few blocks in 2024 where I'm going to ride. So, a day ride is great, 2 days ride is great, but it's not enough for me. I'd rather, you know, do less number of rides, but longer rides. So, a couple of weeks exploring. For me, riding is honestly not as much about enjoying the motorcycle, but about exploring, right? And enjoying the motorcycle in the bargain,
Hmm.
right? Rather than the other way around. So I want to explore, I want to go to places. And honestly, it's also not just about motorcycling, right? So, of course, I have a few motorcycle rides planned this year on the Himalayan, of course. But I also have other things planned. I'm planning to relearn or get better at windsurfing, get better at scuba diving. These are two plans. I want to go for a trek in some forests which I've been looking up in the Philippines, for
Oh,
example, which is really, really untouched and out there. So I want to do different things now, right? I want to do more exploration. Again, as we say, exploring outside, it helps you explore your mind. It
yeah.
gets your mind open, reinvent yourself a bit. So yeah, that's my plan. I mean, rides, more adventure, more exploration.
Thank you, Siddharth. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for being on the Ride Pure podcast.
Thanks, Adarsh. It was wonderful to have my first podcast at in Royal Enfield, and hopefully one of many. Thank you very much.
Thank you.